I know what it means. I know it means India 7 will die, the wormhole will collapse, Dominic will stay dead, and Drew and Samantha stay gone. I am aware of what happens if this is not fixed. Now do I go back and try to stop Rex from creating this wormhole in the first place? What happens if the wormhole is never created? Many people have tried to fix this, Phyllis persisted, running her fingers through her hair. Okay, listen to me, either help me or get off the LVN. Both of you, I said with grave deliberation, looking from one to the other. When both looked to Tony, he told them she was clear. I agree. I do not have to be an empath to know that you people are preventing us from solving this and what happened to Ethan? Did you two kill him? Are you two involved in his murder? Do you know who did it? They looked from him to me and back again several times. Dad questioned, why would we kill Ethan? I don't know. I just know that, even when I went back in time, Sydney Grace was trying to. Sydney Grace? A Zeitverschidete, Dad demanded, staring at me. Okay, no, you are right. We have to fix this before the Zeitverschidetes mess it up any further. I side-eyed Tony, then opened my mouth, shut it and turned around. Then I took a deep breath before I swung back around. What the hell? I needed to fix this. Everyone has tried to stop me, but now that you heard that Sydney Grace tried to stop me, you are on board. Again, what the hell? Phyllis urged Dad, closing the gap between them. I think we have to tell her, Jack. Tell me what? That. If you would listen, we will tell you, Dad countered, hopping on one of the stools near the bar. I motioned for him to proceed. When I heard their explanation, I exchanged an amused look with Tony. I took a deep breath before I put my hand up and concluded, let me get this straight, you were trying to continue Rex Morgan's work because you thought you had figured out the problem, but then the four of you made it worse. I know that India 7 was dying over 100 years ago because the soil was being poisoned. How could you make it worse? Originally, it was not dying. The problem was that the atmosphere around India 7 was becoming unstable. Rex thought it was because of the wormhole, Dad confessed, staring at his hand, but he could not collapse, discontinue, the wormhole. He glanced over at Phyllis, who nodded. It didn't start dying until we messed, Dad provided, turned the stool back and forth several times, not looking at me, with trying to fix what was wrong with India 7 by traveling back in time. I had to do it because I am the one who possessed the gift. I could feel his anxiety rising, along with another emotion. What was it? It felt like fear. I sensed he feared looking bad in front of me. I managed in a calmer tone, what happened when you went back? What is the deal with the Zeitverschidetes? He raised his head to meet my gaze and continued, the Zeitverschidetes want to kill time travelers. They can see the signature of people who time travel. It is why they tried to kill you when you did it. He took in a ragged breath before considering, I messed up the timeline when I went back because I didn't know about the time vortex. Time vortex, Tony and I required in unison. Yes, the wormhole was constructed on what we can only describe as a time vortex, Phyllis revealed, darting her eyes around at each of us in turn. Depending on when you start time traveling determines what the outcome will be. Even if we were to collapse the wormhole, I decided, looking from Dad to Phyllis and back again, we still have to deal with this time vortex. How to pick the right time to time travel, so we put the timeline right? That's the billion-dollar question, Dad confirmed, grabbing the edge of the bar. If we knew that. Can you explain the science behind this time vortex? Maybe if I knew how it worked, I proposed, twisting in my seat, we could pinpoint when I need to travel. A time vortex is where all the timelines collide, such as in this case, Phyllis started, meeting my eyes, but this one fluctuates between all possible timelines. We have to figure out how to determine when it fluctuates to the one we need to change. At that point, you need to go back and prevent us from messing us with the timeline. You make it sound so simple, I responded, looking to Tony, who seemed to be mulling the situation over. Does that mean that Drew and Samantha are probably stuck in one of the other possible timelines? Posed Tony, to which everyone shrugged. If Alex goes back in time in the timeline we need to fix, wouldn't this Zeitverschidete person try to kill her again? I know that the fire squad has been working on ID technique to make a vessel appear invisible. Is it possible to do that with a person, or their time-traveling signature? If anyone could do it, it would be Major Annie Ryan on the Liberty. Maybe she can work with LVN's chief engineer, Major read, to invent a solution. I made a couple of calls, one to Jessa on the Liberty and one to engineering, explaining the situation and the challenge. Phyllis raised her eyebrows. Can that be done? We are about to find out, I insisted, writing notes on my Quan pad. What I think we need to focus on right now is figuring out how to pinpoint the correct timeline. You two, I directed, pointing to Dad and Phyllis, need to join the scientists in the lab. I gestured around the room and advised, we will meet in 2 hours for an update. I contacted the guards outside the doors to escort them to Science Lab. Phyllis and Dad stood and headed out the doors. Do you think we can do it? Tony wondered, catching my eye. I nodded and determined, we have to. Failure is not an option. Then I dashed a note off to all my contacts.